The excellence in operations and the paradigm that we use to analyze it does not need to change. However, since the context change, the application will change. We must, for example, refer to the origins of the Ford Model T that was very successful for quite a few number of years until the bottleneck shift from being into the production to being into the market, and therefore the application of the same model had to change.
Well, that hasn't really changed much, except that the focus has changed. In operations, we always look at cost and we look at agility. In the past couple of years, due to the growing markets and the growing demands from the consumer side, we have always looked at agility. In this crisis, with disappearing demand, we have to look at cost and we have to use operations and improvements in our processes to reduce the cost structure.
There is no general solution. I think every company will have to identify what is their current situation and how they can move to a more competitive position. For some companies, it may mean cutting prices and therefore cutting cost. For others, it may mean maybe the opposite, which is reducing volume and therefore being able to sell at a higher price. Depends on the kind of product that they are doing. One of the things we can say, however, is that it is not going to be a good solution to just cut across the board. Because what you need to define is exactly where do you want to have your competencies and probably leverage this more. So maybe in some departments you will require more people and maybe less people in other departments. So cutting cost is not an easy job. It's not just getting an Excel and multiply everything by 0.75. It requires a lot of work.
By cutting price, you can artificially increase demand. Nevertheless, what we should do is we should certainly look at, as I said before, the processes, try to be smarter about what we do instead of doing things like laying off people, which in any company that is well managed always should be the very last thing that you do.
Well, lean operations is the development of the original just-in-time from Toyota in the 1980s. Okay, so it's an evolution moving from manufacturing to the application of the same concepts to services, administration, hospitals, etc. The basic idea is identify everything that we do and classify it in something that adds value or something that is a waste. In cases like the ones we are facing nowadays, this is a very good methodology because it allows us to classify the things where we can cut cost and the things when we need to leverage. Therefore, I think it's a wonderful opportunity if companies have not done it yet to squeeze value of their existing operations by applying the lean principles.
In this environment of an economic crisis, we have to make sure that everything that we use in our companies and processes actually adds value. And there are many things that we find in companies that do not add value, but were needed in the past as we were growing significantly. So some companies have been very successful in doing this. For example, Porsche, or as some people call it, Porsche, a company that a mere 10-15 years ago was very close to disappearing, to going bankrupt. And then by implementing lean processes adopted from Toyota, they did a very strong turnaround and in a mere 10 years went from losing money to making more than €1 billion in profits just by introducing these concepts.
I think it's a good opportunity. However, we must say that not all the companies will be able to survive. So some companies will survive and therefore will be better prepared to face the future, among other things because there will be not so many competitors when the economy recovers. However, we need to ensure what do we mean by survival and being prepared for the long term. It is very common that what we need to do in the short term is not necessarily what is going to give us leverage in the long term. So it's going to be some trade-off between things that we need to do to be able to manage the crisis and things that we need to do to come out with a strong position after the crisis.
We can certainly take advantage of this situation, of this current economic crisis. And the advantage, or what we should do, is we should finally kick out some things that are only there because we say, well, we've always done it this way. So what we should do is we should take a fresh look at our whole value creation process and identify those parts of it that actually do not add value, but they're only there because we've always done them in the past. So kick them out, redesign the processes, and make sure that everything we do really adds value.